Yo, what up? This is Dark. Are you tired of not getting all your ascendancy points because you don't know what the hell's going on with these bosses? Well, in this video, we're going to go over the mechanics and get you those points. Like and sub, quick rundown of the Trial of Sekhemas. It's one of the options to get your ascendancy points. To get the points, you just have to beat the bosses without your honor bar going all the way down or you dying in the trial. And to get this the most efficient way, you want to use your relics to boost up your honor resistance. I suggest getting as much movement speed as you can because some of the bosses are a pain in the butt. And throughout the trials, you'll be getting buffs and debuffs. You want to collect as much sacred water and get to a merchant as soon as possible if you're able to, because they could just give you a bunch of buffs that just stack up and, help you destroy the bosses. With a couple notable buffs being the movement speed increased by 40%, damage increased by 40%. Then they have one where they reduce all their prices in half. And before you get into the bosses, you'll have to do these trial rooms, and the trial rooms consist of the death run where you have to, click all the crystals before time expires. Then you got the ritual where you have to kill the summoners before they overwhelm you with that. Then you have the chalice rooms where you have to kill specific rares to advance. Then you have the trap rooms where you gotta dodge all the fire and rock spikes all over the place. And then you have the gauntlet trials where you just have to survive for a minute and a half to advance. And then you got the bosses. Let's get into them. Alright, so the first boss here is going to be Rattlecage, the Earthbreaker. At the beginning of this fight, he's always going to start out with this AoE blast where it's going to blast 3 times. So make sure you're not standing on top of him during this. And he'll do this ability throughout the fight randomly. His next ability is going to be when he slams the ground into lava lines are going to shoot out. At the end of these lava lines, it's going to explode and create 2 little mini volcanoes. These mini volcanoes are going to spew out little molten balls around them. So obviously don't stand on top of those. And then he'll be doing a bunch of mini slams and melee when he's close to you. One with like his right hand, he'll just slam on the ground. One where he's going to slam both hands on the ground at different times, just doing little shock waves. And then one where he just does a heavy slam with both of his arms. And when you get his HP down a little bit, he'll slam the ground with both his arms, creating little dust spirals, indicating that stuff from the ceiling is about to fall down where those spirals are located. So make sure you're not standing on the spirals, otherwise you'll get hit on the head and take damage. And that's it for this guy. If you have low damage, this fight can get tricky just because he fills the room up with all the volcanoes. They do disappear eventually, but it takes a while for him, so it could be, kind of hectic if you have a crap ton of volcanoes all over the room. Alright, for the second fight in the Trial of Sekhemas, you're going to be going up against the Terracotta Sentinels. There's going to be the Frozen Dude and the Flame Guy. When these guys are healthy, they only do a couple abilities, starting with the Flame Guy. He's going to just do a normal melee attack when you're close, where one fist glows red, so just make sure you're dodging that. It's a pretty slow attack. And then he also has one where both his fists are going to glow red, and he's going to pull them up and slam on the ground. And when he slams on the ground, just does a straight line frontal. So just make sure you're dodge rolling to the left or the right of that. And then for the Frost Guy, his normal attack is just going to be a slam on the ground. It's a little AoE. And then for his actual ability, he's going to do another slam, but this time he's going to imbue his mace with ice and actually cock back the mace before he slams it. So it gives you a little bit more time to get out of the bigger icy AoE. And then when you get him down to about 60, 70% health, they're going to add another ability to their attacks. And for the Fire Guy, his foot's going to be what's glowing red. This time he's going to stomp down on the ground and he's going to do another frontal, but this one's going to be like a fan that goes out into 3 lines. So one's going to be a straight line and the other 2 will be on the sides of that. If you're far enough away, you go in between and dodge it. But if you're close, you probably just want to dodge to the left or to the right or roll behind him. And then for the Frost Guy, he's going to tap his mace on the ground a couple times and then go into his normal slam attack where it's imbued with ice. But this time it's going to spawn little ice circles on the ground. Those ice circles are going to shoot up ice spikes. So just make sure you're not standing on those little ice circles. And that's it for these 2 guys. Not too many abilities. Just got to keep your head on a swivel since it's 2 bosses against you. Alright, for the third boss in the Trial of Sekhemas, Ashar the Sand Mother. So for this fight, she's going to be doing a lot of motherfucking shit, dude. And the main gimmick of this fight is that there'll be platforms with trap switches on these platforms. You don't want to step on these if you can help it. Just because it's going to make it more annoying. More ads will be coming out, arrows shooting out of the walls, all that crap. But she'll have an ability where she barrels in the sand. If you're on the sand, she'll keep jumping out of the sand and trying to attack you. But if you actually stand on the corner of one of these platforms, she doesn't jump out anymore and she'll just come out and you can just continue the fight like normal. Another reason to get her out of the sand quick by standing on the platforms is every time she jumps around, she creates quicksand that will slow you down if you step on it. So get her out. And then she'll attack you with her tail, and that's going to be indicated when the tip of her tail turns like neon green, and she'll do one of 3 abilities. The first one's going to be like a slam roll, where she'll roll forward as she's slamming down. The other one's going to be just like a normal like slam attack right in front of her. And then the next will be a sweeping attack where she'll spin around. And besides her normal melee attack that she'll be doing throughout the fight, where she's trying to pinch you with her claw, when you get her down to like 60% health, after the tail roll slam attack, she'll actually stand up on her tail and start shooting you with like poison, guns from her claws, and there'll be poison puddles on the ground for a little bit. So you want to make sure you're dodging all those poison shots and not standing in the puddles. And that's it for the Scorpion Lady. For this fight, you just want to be able to master stand on the platforms without setting off any of the traps, getting her out of the sand as quick as you can, and building up your movement speed. Alright, what most people are probably here for, the final boss, the Time Wizard, Zarokh. So this guy feels like he has like 10 times the HP from all the other bosses. You definitely want to get movement speed if you haven't already. I know the Merchant, there's a chance of her giving you 40% movement speed, so try to get that as, if you're lucky. Because being slow in this fight is a huge drag. So starting the fight off, he's going to always be casting a boomerang like bubble ability that's going to come from his right arms or his left arms. They shoot out, they come back to him, in his direction, whatever. Make sure you're dodging those. The portals on the side of the arena will consistently throughout the fight just shoot out like bubbles slowly, time bubbles that will do damage if you run into them. And then he'll also be, again, with his right arms or his left arms, shooting like waves of bubbles out at you from each side at different times. And then sometimes he does one from both sets of arms, and he's gonna like collide them in the middle, but there's always like a little gap in the middle of these bubbles that you could kind of like chill in. All right, next he's got this like Sith Lord ability where he's going to spawn in the middle of the arena. He's going to start casting lightning going around in a circle. At the same time, these time balls, bigger balls, will be spawning. If you run into any of these, you're going to get stunned for like 3 seconds, guaranteeing you're going to get hit by the lightning attack, which does pretty heavy damage. So try not to get stunned. Next, he's got this big time bomb. It's going to shoot out. It's really slow, and if you're in the circle, you're slowed as well, and eventually that bomb's going to explode. So just get out of that big circle if you're in it. All right, so about 50-60% HP, the boss is going to disappear, glowing the middle of the arena. When this is happening, you step in the middle of the arena, you're going to go into the intermission phase, where there's going to be 6 little time dials around the arena. You have to collect all 6 of these to get out of this phase. If you don't collect them in time, you will get one shot and your trial will be over. If you mess this up, you could just log out and restart the fight. As long as your honor doesn't go all the way to 0, you could come back and redo it with the honor you had left over, which is better than doing the whole trial all over again. Keep in mind, I have, at this time, 30% movement speed on my boots, and then I got the 40% from the Merchant, so you want to make sure, again, getting all the movement speed you can, and then, using Blink or Leap or any kind of movement abilities that your character is running. All right, in the second half of the fight, he does a few more abilities, so those time balls that will stun you, they're going to start appearing during the fight, as well as he's going to spawn these, like, runes. 4 of them, he'll shoot them out. They're really fast. They're going to spin around and they're going to explode eventually. So just make sure, dodging them as best as you can. And his last ability is going to be like a clock bubble that he puts on the ground. It's going to have a dial that spins around. Once it spins completely, it's going to bring you to the clock bubble, and it's going to spin around again really fast, exploding, doing heavy damage. So make sure after you get sucked into the clock, you run out of the bubble so you don't get hit like I did. All right, that's it for that guy. Shit gets crazy over there. Hopefully this helped you get your ascendancy points. But yeah, a little quick recap. Make sure you're getting your movement speed as much as you can. Honor resistance capped if you're able to with your relics, and that your damage is pretty decent. It doesn't have to be the greatest. I mean, I did this at like level 85, I want to say, the first time. My DPS was like 10k on my spark on my tooltip. And then last thing, I didn't realize you can actually get special jewels. I didn't know until this run from the Trial of Sekhemas, specifically only from the trial. But yeah, that's it. Peace out, dog.